Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of Drinking Champagne. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Andrew Champagne. Andrew, how are you doing, my friend?
It's been a very, very, very good week. If you know, you know.
I don't like when you're smug like that.
I'm going to be smug most of the show. I'm just saying I've been on cloud nine for a couple of days now. Part of the reason that we waited a day was so that some of the smugness would wear off. Some of it did. Scary thought, right? I know. But kidding aside, things have been good. It's been a good, solid week, not just for me, but for the horse racing industry at large. I've been keeping myself very, very busy. Had a pretty good night over in Hong Kong, actually a couple of them over the first couple of weeks of that season. Been following you over on the You've Got to Be Shot-Hinning Me show. And by the way, if any of you out there are interested in learning more about Hong Kong, Josh and our friend Matt do a phenomenal job with that show every week. And that is something that you should definitely be adding to your podcast rotations. So things have been good there. I'm keeping myself very, very busy. Josh, I've got a story. You'll actually enjoy this one. So as you know, Golden Gate Fields closed, right? So they had a dispersal auction for a number of things. I was initially hoping to get like a sign or something for over here. If any of you out there were bidding on some of the things for the Golden Gate Fields auction and were able to buy a sign for a ridiculous amount of money, can you either adopt me or pay for my wedding? Things got nuts very quickly, and I just wasn't going to put myself in a position where I was going to pay an absurd amount of money for anything. However, what I did come up with were a bunch of souvenir cups, glasses from a couple of events that they had here. So I got 4 of these. If you're watching on YouTube, you're seeing this. These are glasses from an event that they had for the Santa Anita Handicap in 2004. Yeah, these needed a trip through the dishwasher when I got home from picking them up. But Josh, here's the one that's going to interest you a lot. So they also ran an event for the Kentucky Derby several years ago. And I got 4 glasses, mint julep type glasses here with lists of winners on the back. You can't really see a whole bunch of them, but you can see text there. You can take a look at this on your screen here, but this is Kentucky Derby. There we go. 145. Josh, could you please do me and everyone else who's watching this on YouTube a favor? Could you look up which one Kentucky Derby 145 was?
That was Justify, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, was that Maximum Security?
Bingo!
Oh, God.
Yes, this was all a setup so that I could troll Josh. Not really. I didn't realize that when I bought these glasses. I wanted to buy something from this sale because I couldn't afford anything that would fit in this big gap right over here. And I wound up buying 4 glasses from the 2004 Santa Anita Handicap and 4 glasses from the 2019 Kentucky Derby. I let Mark Capitan in on that, and I made a mistake in doing that because as it turned out, that DQ cost him even more than it cost you, and I felt really, really bad about that. So, Mark, if you're listening, I'm sorry. This is the first ever reverse stray in the history of On the Wrong Lead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. But, yeah, so I wound up coming away with 4 Big Cat glasses and 4 Kentucky Derby glasses, as well as a couple of mean looks from the security guard at Golden Gate Fields who was convinced I went the wrong way through a parking lot.
I want to say that was peak or near peak Reddit Discord, horse racing Discord. It's still very, very active. Couple of people aren't as active as they used to be. People come and go and stuff like that. Still very active, but that was definitely peak. I think I was still a moderator at the time, so I was really involved. And a lot of my other friends who maybe don't participate as much anymore in that Discord, but I still talk to on a regular basis, they were real heavily involved. I want to say that DQ at the minimum cost the Discord about six figures.
Yeah.
And it definitely was not like, we know it's a pari-mutuel game, right? So some other people obviously benefited from the DQ, right?
Yeah.
None of those people were in that Discord, or if there were, it definitely did not add up to 100,000 plus. So that was a pretty tough day. And I think I've told the story on this podcast
You
before
have.
with
That's
the
part of the
black
reason I
cat.
trotted this out.
Yeah. What's funny is I don't even know why. So I have a tomorrow night. I have a work event at the Guinness Brewery in Chicago. So Guinness built a brewery in downtown Chicago.
That's a world record breaking brewery, isn't it?
No. But they for some reason I was thinking about I'm going there, and I was thinking about New Holland, which is the brewery that we were walking to in Grand Rapids when that oh no when said Black Cat happened, and was the brewery I watched the DQ the win and then DQ happen in real time. Man, I'll tell you what, that DQ still, it's funny, um, because how ticky tack it was, and like I get it, right? Like by the letter of the law, like it should have come down, but you didn't really like see that kind of stuff happen in those big type races. But what was even funnier is I feel like since that DQ, I feel like I've considerably gotten less and less faith in the stewards since that one, with some of the just ridiculous stuff we see on a fairly regular basis now. So,
Yeah, it's the thing with that DQ is the lasting legacy of that race to me is the fact that it highlighted racing's lack of an answer to a very simple question, which is what is a foul that merits disqualification? Even if we adopt category 1 rules, which I don't 100% agree with, but that's a uniform set of rules that governs what happens in these situations and governs what stewards are supposed to do to enforce those rules and what we as bettors can expect. That's all I think anybody wants. There are going to be times where the stewards make decisions that, for whatever reason, we don't agree with. Either we've got money going the other way, or we're wondering what the stewards were watching or what they were told. Give us an idea of what we can expect from certain inquiries and objections so that way we know the rules of the game that we're playing. That's all.
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people tell you that the DQ was right because of what I think a lot of people knew, but we found out to be extremely true later, with perhaps the winning trainer of that racehorse. But yeah, it's crazy. I haven't I'm finally far enough away from that DQ that it hurts a little bit less.
Okay, good. So what you're saying is I don't have to sleep with one eye open tonight.
No. But yeah, it's that one stung for years. Well, I'll say like now I can like look back on it and be I'm mildly annoyed by it now, as opposed to wanting to quit the game of horse racing like I probably wanted to for at least an hour after that DQ.
Yeah. So I've got a similar story that I can relate and pass along. This was before Josh. So, Josh, if I say the word Bayern, will you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, completely cut off another horse in Breeders' Cup Classic, right?
Yes. So 2014 Breeders' Cup Classic happens. That happens. Joe Talamo gives the greatest quote in the history of post-race jockey interviews. Hey, Joe, what'd you see coming out of the gate? Shared belief sideways. No change. Later that night, my dad and I went to a Breeders' Cup after party at the Langham. ritzy hotel in Pasadena that is very, very easy to miss. You really need to know where you're going if you're trying to find that place, especially at night. A lot of security. It was a fun time. But also at that party was a gentleman by the name of Peter Rotundo, who did a lot of work for Breeders' Cup and was also part of the cast of Horse Players several years ago. He had a hefty future wager on a horse named Toast of New York, who ran second in that race and who should have been declared the official winner of that race. But Bayern, the stewards decided to make no change, which, by the way, remains inexplicable. There's no debating what happened there. Bayern should have come down. Somewhere shared belief, every time a horse gets taken down for interference coming out of the gate, is rolling over in his grave going, what the hell happened here? But yeah, that's anytime anybody talks about a bad beat, I remember that because my dad insists that Pete Rotundo cut him off at the bar line going up there. And I just went, Dad, let him have it. Just let him have it. You know, like you wind up getting on the hook for that kind of money at that kind of price. Like it wasn't a huge bet, but he got massive odds on the horse. Like, it was one of those. So it's one of those instances where as a handicapper, you make the right bet and the process is dead solid perfect and you still get screwed. It's a hard game, folks. I have an immense amount of respect for the people that can do it professionally. I have an immense amount of respect for the people that continually get kicked in the teeth, yet keep coming back, because when this game is on and everything is working on all cylinders, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to witness. So, yeah, just one of those things where anytime anybody talks about a bad beat story, the first beat I think of isn't one of mine. It's one that I saw firsthand. And by the way, I ran into him a couple weeks ago when I was up at Saratoga. I think I chronicled that on this show. Good dude, good family, happy he's doing well. That was coming back from that could not have been easy.
All right, Andrew, let's move on here. Let's take a look at this late pick 4. So, you know, normally we'll take a look at a pick 5, but obviously with some of the rules at Parx Racing, you know, we don't want to, you know, support the jackpot bet. Now, if there happens to be a mandatory payout or something, you know, by all means. But as far as I know, I don't think there is going to be one.
I did not see one either, and I looked because if it would have been a mandatory payout, it would be a fascinating sequence because you have the epitome of a free square coming up in race number 12. And Josh, if we spend longer than a minute talking about race number 12, we both need to go outside and do a lap after this is done, because that's just a criminal waste of our listeners and viewers' time.
Have you not watched any of our live streams before?
Yes, I have. And I'm instituting a rule right here, right now, in the, you know, interest of keeping everybody on a time schedule for the purposes of this. We're going to cut out the suspense. Torpedo Ann as a single. Let's just call it like it is. We're taking different steps to try to make some money off of this sequence. But Josh, I noticed your ticket before we came on the air. While we see some races very differently, our overall philosophy is the same, because I have no other morning line odds favorites on my ticket. You, I think, only have one. And I think both of our mindsets are similar in that if we get Torpedo Anna home and beat a couple of favorites, this basically acts as an odds boost on a horse that's going to be 1-5 or 2-5.
Yeah, so we're gonna start at race 11 here. So 50-cent pick 4 starts at this race, and that's the Grade 2 Gallant Bob.
How is this a Grade 2?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't understand it. I looked at the form and I went, "This has to be a mistake." It's not. I can understand how the Pennsylvania Derby and the Cotillion are Grade 1s, even though I'm not crazy about restricted races at this point in the year. How is this a Grade 2?
Yeah, I'm curious who won this race last year. There just must have been a couple of just really nice horses coming out of this race the last couple of years. At least that's always been my what I've been told how these grades come about, but I think much like the points in oh my goodness, whose line is it anyways?
Yep.
I don't think that they matter.
So I
So
have the list here from the past several years. Going back several years, I'm going to go back to 2015, 2023 Damon's Mound, 2022 Scaramouche, 2021 Jackie's Warrior. Okay, fine, understand that. 2020 race not held because of COVID. 2019, the first year it was a grade 2, King Jack. 2018 Forenzi Fire. Okay. 2017 Coal Front. Okay. 2016 No Holding Back Bear. 2015 Trouble Kid. I'm sorry. I don't see how this should be a grade 2. Grade
I
3,
mean,
I could understand. Grade 2 seems too stiff.
the problem is too is that these restricted 3-year-old races this late in the season, I really think should probably not either be graded as high or I don't know, maybe just not exist. But I mean, right? It's easy for me to say like it's hard. This is Park's like only big day,
Mm-hmm.
so the fact that they get quality horses for these races, that are restricted as such. I mean, I don't know. It's tough, but yeah. So race 11 here, 6 furlongs on the main track, and yeah, you'd mentioned earlier the morning line favorite in this race is Bent Ben Tornado.
Ben
The
Tornado, I
Ben
believe.
Tornado, the one at 9-5, and then I think once you get past the favorite, you kind of got a flat odds board. You got a lot of 4-1, 8-1, 5-1. Like I think it's kind of your pick after that. And yeah, Andrew, we have 4 horses combined, and we don't have any horses in common. Um, and I'll tell you what, Andrew. Honestly, the 2 horses that you have as your A's in this race, um, I would, um, if I'm playing the pick five, they might be horses that get added as B types. I just thought in the pick four, I didn't want to get too spready. I didn't want to go 4 deep in a couple of legs. So I don't hate your horses. So I mean, I guess we could put together a consensus ticket combining our 4 horses in this race. But I actually landed on the kind of dual entry here of Saffy Joseph Jr. In the 6 and the 7, practically dark and one sharp cookie. I put one sharp cookie on top as my lone A and practically dark as a B. And I'll tell you this kind of, I was looking for who I thought was possibly the speed of the speed in this race. And then I thought who could possibly pick up the pieces late. And they both happened, and I ended up on both the Safi Joseph horses, which makes me wonder if there's going to be any kind of like if there's any kind of shenanigans going on here, or if maybe Safi is thinking the same thing I am. Hey, like why not attack this from both sides? I mean, he gets Flavian Pratt to ride the 6 practically dark, who's the longer of the 2 prices. So, yeah, I that kind of just kind of set my eyes to the horse to set some alarm bells off. And I thought the 7 one sharp cookie gets Mike Smith. And maybe I'm still reeling from the time Mike Smith came in to ride one horse in like the entire Saratoga meet for Safi and booms me. But yeah, this horse seems to be possibly your speed of the speed. I know it's coming from Gulfstream Park, which is just an absolute speedball fest there. But I don't know. I thought that this is the horse that kind of maybe got brought along a little slowly. It took a while to kind of get the light bulb to pop. And once that happened, it jumped into allowance company, ran pretty decent third, and then won a state bred optional claimer, won an open optional claimer, and at least on Brisnet has races that are just as good as the morning line favorite has. So I really like the 6 one sharp cookie. Um, there is a bit of speed in this race, but we're going 6 furlongs. I'm not going to be chase and just assume that this thing's going to melt. But yeah, I really like the 7 One Sharp Cookie, and I thought the 6 Practically Dark. I like the fact that the horse kind of came up here for a local prep. Um, didn't really run all that well. Seemed to be kind of just wide the entire time. But I don't know. That race really seems like a pretty big outlier. This is another one that broke its maiden, light bulb went off, came right back an optional claimer, won a nice race and kind of a key race where the third place finisher came back to win again. Went to this that listed stakes race, and they went pretty fast early, but the horse kind of just, like I said, was kind of just off slow, didn't really do much. But now you can improve on the rider. You get Flavian Pratt, and maybe something happened coming out the gate. Maybe they just need a stronger rider for this horse. Obviously, this is one of Safi's main owners that he trains for. So yeah, I thought Practically Dark was definitely in here with a shot.
Well, if we know one thing about Safi Joseph, it's that you can't ever discount him at a price on a big day. Just saying. I mean, just got to throw that out there. Yeah, for those who are unaware, I finally ran into Safi Joseph at Saratoga. Much to the displeasure of a couple of people on Twitter, I reminded him that Lord Miles made my career because, I've never been known to exaggerate anything for the point of humor. Some people on Twitter need to get lives, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there. We've got a similar mindset here in the fact that we're both going against number 1, Ben Tornado. It would not be a shock if Ben Tornado just proved better than these. I've got some doubts. This is a horse that went 4 for 4 to start the career down at Gulfstream, beating up on Florida bred or sired 2-year-olds in some of those rich races down there. And hey, nice work if you can get it. This is a horse that's banked $560,000 with a pedigree that includes a sire that has a $5,000 stud fee. Good on the connections. They've smartly campaigned this horse. Ran a decent second last time out, but that was going the bull ring at Charlestown. I don't know how that form is going to travel here to Parx. I see a horse whose wins have all come at Gulfstream. I see a horse that went over to Saudi Arabia, probably went a little bit too long going against the likes of Forever Young. And it's not like he ran badly that day, but I can't be too enthusiastic about this horse at a short price. And if this horse beats me, I'll tip my cap and move on. It's not like this one's illogical. I just think 9 to 5 on the morning line is a little bit too short for what this horse's chances actually are. My top pick is horse number 3, Bucarino. Josh, I'm curious to hear your reasoning for this. If you like horse number 6, Practically Dark, who ran 4th last time out in the local prep for this, why are you not using the horse that beat him by more than 9 lengths?
I just think maybe it could be a possibly different pace complexion here. So
look at this horse's record at Parx. Not only has this horse never lost at Parx, he's never been threatened at Parx. None of these races have been close. And his races at Parx are miles better than any race he has ever run anywhere else. This is my top pick. I think 4-1's a great price on a horse that certainly seems very live and very well meant over a surface he absolutely loves. The only other horse that I'm going to use is a horse I've had a soft spot for quite a while, and that's number 5, Maximus Meridius. This is a runner that I gave out at a price way back in the Gotham, back in March, and it just turned out that a mile was a little bit too long. Has run well in a couple of spots after that, second in a couple of stakes races in New York. They tried him in the Woody Stevens at Saratoga. That didn't work so well. Those horses were just miles better than him. You got Bookham Dano, you get Prince of Monaco, you get Nutella Fella. Those are top-class horses. They then ran him going 2 turns on the turf at Parx. I know it was a state bred race. That is not what this horse wants to do. This horse is a one-turn closer who last time out made a middle move in that prep race that my top selection wound up winning and does get some pace to chase in here. In the event of an absolute meltdown, is there a better rider to have on your horse than Joel Rosario? I don't think so. Give me the 3 and the 5 in here. I understand why Ben Tornado is going to be favored, but given the way this sequence shook out, I just couldn't play any other morning line favorite alongside Torpedo Anna unless I thought that horse was good enough to single, and I don't have that kind of confidence.
Yeah, so it seems like we have the same idea, just different approaches in that race. And like I said, I like the 3.
Before we even started talking about the sequence, we've got the same general idea. We're just going about it in completely different ways, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and like I really do like your 3. I just didn't know if I I don't know. I'll be interested to see what price the 3 goes off at. I kind of think that maybe the 3 takes a little bit more money. And I don't know. Sometimes I hate being in these situations where you get right. You're trying to beat a 9-5 favorite, right? That goes off to at 7-5, and it's like, okay, cool. You use the horse that was 2-1 instead. You know, like I don't know. We'll see what the prices are like, but no, I definitely respect the 3 in that spot. Race 12 here, the Cotillion, and you know, we said that we have a timer of 60 seconds here. I'll say that, you know, I was against Torpedo Anna very heavily in the Travers, and you know, I was vindicated. The horse was not good enough to win. I don't care if it was only ahead. She finished second. I'm going to take a victory lap that she did actually reduce the takeout in that race. So thank you. I will clap for myself. Thank you.
You liked fierceness in there, did you?
I did not. I did not like fierceness, but no, I honestly, she ran absolutely huge in the Travers. I think, not only did she run as well as she has, she ran better, which was, I think, my big argument against her was that she was going to need to take a big step forward. And when you have a horse that already has 4 starts as a 3-year-old in really, really big spots and has run well in all those starts, it's hard to imagine the horse is going to run even better. But sure enough, Kenny had that horse cranked and just ran her absolute eyeballs out in that Travers. So, you know, maybe you're a little concerned about the yeah, a little bounce possibly.
No.
But the thing is that even if she does, I do think that her B game is probably good enough to win here. So not concerned at all. I'm gonna single Torpedo Anna. If she loses, I lose. Anything to add, Andrew?
We're going to learn from the Florida State fan who made a remark that he was going to eat something out of a solo cup if FSU lost a particular game. We're not going to quite go that far. Torpedo Anna, assuming all goes reasonably well and everybody's healthy, should not lose. That's the high-end, cutting-edge analysis of the Cotillion. That's all you need. Single Torpedo Anna and move on. She's 4-5 on the morning line. She's going to be significantly less than that.
All right, let's move on to race 13, the Pennsylvania Derby, which I actually thought is a very, very interesting race. And I'm very curious on how this race gets bet. Your morning line favorite is the 7 Dragoon Guard at 9-5. You get 5-2 on Stronghold, 5-1 on Seize the Gray, 8-1 on Protective and Unmatched Wisdom. You get double digits on everybody else. And yeah, you know, Andrew, I took a quick look at the pace complexion here. And, you know, when I see 4 horses that have E6, E7, E8, E8, and we're going to route right? We're not going 6 furlongs. We're not dreaming up a chase sprint meltdown here.
Boy, Chase is
Um,
catching strays left, right, and center here.
um, you know, he said he made a pact that he wasn't going to bet closers this year, closers that are favorites. I wonder if he kept to that. I'm really curious. My top pick is the 11 Stronghold, which is the second choice in this spot. I think of the horses that are entered, is probably your most consistent. Is going to be able to make up some ground. You cross the line through that Derby, because we've talked about it numerous times. The Kentucky Derby just is an anomaly, usually for most horses. And you cross the line through it. I think came back well in the Indiana Derby, and didn't get much pace to run into. We had 23 and 3, 47 and 1, 110 and 3. I mean, for horses this good, graded stakes types horses, that's the cakewalk, right? And that's what Dragoon Guard had, to kind of win that Indiana Derby. I don't see that happening here. I see just an absolute ton of speed, and I think that absolutely compromises the 7 Dragoon Guard. And who, if you kind of look at basically the horse's entire career has basically had it all his own way. Very, very little pace pressure. Very, very just relaxed paces. And I think that this is going to be the time that he doesn't get that. Now maybe he's good enough to win coming from off the pace, but I don't know. I'm not going to take a short price, assuming the horse is going to be able to just turn push button and let horses kind of pass by. So I like Stronghold. I like the 4 Timeout. And you kind of mentioned this earlier. When you're predicting a pace meltdown and you look at the jockey list and you see a horse that wants to come from off the pace and you see Joel Rosario aboard, I mean, you kind of gotta, take a second look. And I think Timeout is definitely one of the less accomplished horses in this race. But I think the run style fits here. Is going to need to move up a bit, I think, in order to run as fast as some of these other horses. But I think with the right pace setup, has all the reason to kind of improve and make up that ground. And then the last 2 horses I used, the 5 Protective. Um, you know, maybe I'm getting tricked by this
You
Todd
are.
Pletcher.
You're getting beyond tricked for a number of different reasons. I'm sorry. This is the horse that if this horse wins, I will be looking going, what the hell happened? Explain this to me.
Look, I'm thinking of pace. I'm looking at running lines, and I'll tell you what, when Irad Ortiz is on a horse like this, he is absolutely not going to get involved in the pace early. So I just thought that there's a chance that just Protective might get just an absolute dream trip in here. Uh, Once again, I'm looking to thinking that, hey, like you need a ton and ton of improvement for that horse. But I'm trying to get around the favorite. I'm trying to get a price home here. And then the last horse that I'm going to include is the state bred, or the New York bred rather, the one Doc Sullivan, who has run some really, really nice races in that New York Stallion series, running those state bred races. And I like the fact that they're taking a shot with this horse. Has basically had one other kind of foe in those state bred races that has gotten the better of him the last 2 times. But once again, I'm just looking for a horse that's going to be uh, not completely lose contact from the field. Is going to be pretty forwardly placed, but not going to be right on the lead as part of that crazy pace complexion. And maybe if we get, like I said, a hot enough pace, might be able to sit that garden fourth, fifth, 4 or 5 lengths off and just kind of make that one run. So I have it as a C type. Obviously the horse I like the least, but most of my money is going to be running through the 4 timeout and the 11 stronghold.
So we agree on one of those horses. I'll come back to stronghold in just a second. But Josh, hear me out on this. You said you love timeout, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand the pace setup. I think this horse may well be eligible to improve. Doesn't this look like a horse that needs Lasix?
I mean, the Curlin, the speed figure was just as fast as anything else and was off Lasix.
So here's the thing there. I appreciate you walking right into that. If you love timeout, don't you also have to love Untouched Wisdom?
It's a different pace scenario.
Who kicked timeout's butt last in that race? I mean, do me a favor. Scroll down to Unmatched Wisdom. There's a couple of things I want to point out.
Who had a candy-ass trip in that Curlin, which is not what's going to happen here.
Making a morning line is very, very difficult. It is not an easy thing to do. And when it is done right, no one notices. I say that in part to sympathize with morning line makers. We're not getting 8-1 on this horse. If Unmatched Wisdom goes off at 4-1 or 9-2, I will be shocked. I think the Travers was an absolute bounce. He did not break well that day, and Irad Ortiz Jr. sort of wrapped up on him. I'm drawing a line straight through that race. I understand what you're talking about as far as that Curlin, but I'm looking at the race 2 back, going 2 turns, where he wound up stalking, pouncing, and drawing away to win by 6 lengths. If he gets that kind of trip here, I don't think anybody outkicks him late. Flavien Prat sees fit to ride. I love the most recent 5 furlong work at Belmont. I think he is a very likely winner in this particular spot. That's my top selection. I will, however, also use Stronghold, who I'd be a little more enthusiastic about if not for the post position. I don't think the post number 11 helps him. I do think, though, that he's shown he can rate a little bit. He does have some tactical speed, but he doesn't need the lead. And with that in mind, he'll outbreak Uncle Heavy, who has no early speed. Who's the King can go in front of him, and he can wind up maybe not saving a ton of ground going into the first turn, but I don't think he's going to be hung out into the parking lot by any means. We both do agree that your morning line favorite, Dragoon Guard, is vulnerable. This is a horse that has never faced serious opposition. I mean, you're talking about candy-ass trips. All 4 of this horse's wins have been candy-ass trips. I understand Brad Cox is very good at keeping horses on the right path. I understand Florent Giroux doesn't have to do a whole heck of a lot to overcomplicate this. He just has to send the horse, right? He's not going to be alone on the front end. I think this is going to be far and away the hottest pace he's ever encountered against not a top-tier group of 3-year-olds, but a good group of 3-year-olds. And I think he's vulnerable at his likely price. I'm using Unmatched Wisdom. I'm using Stronghold. The horse that I do think you want to keep an eye on, if it turns out the track is an absolute super speedway, is your Preakness winner, and that's the 2 Seize the Gray. This horse has one way of going. If he winds up making the front, I think he may well be tough to run down. But the only way I think he wins is if this track is speed favoring and nobody's making up any ground. I think he's an incredibly nice horse, a cool story. If you own a piece of this horse, you've had a heck of an experience. This horse does come in off of a couple of underwhelming efforts in New York, may need an off track to fire his best shot. But D. Wayne Lucas knows how to train a horse up to a big spot just about as well as anybody. He's my 3rd choice. I'm only going 2 deep, though. I'm using the 8 and the 11. Josh, you and I see this race pretty differently. I certainly can't use timeout coming off of Lasix, and I will never, ever, ever use protective in a graded stakes spot unless something wild changes and he winds up running to one of the best pedigrees you can possibly ask for. This is a horse that needed an off-the-turf 1.25-mile race at Saratoga to break his maiden. I mean, this is a horse that honestly, if the TAA on the Breeders' Cup undercard was still a dirt marathon, I think that spot would make more sense than this one. I want no part of this horse here.
All right, let's move on to the last race here. We're going to be going 6.5 furlongs in the Parx Sprint here for $100,000, 4-year-olds and up. And, this was, I think this was kind of the race that you were talking about. I ended up pretty chalky here. I think I ended up taking basically the two shortest prices on the board here, which at least from the morning line seems to be pretty pretty even betting board. But I don't know. I think one horse is definitely just better than the rest of them here. But Andrew, why don't you walk me through this race, because you have 5 horses you like here.
I do, yes. And I'm taking a stand against one of the horses you're using. I've just never been blown away by Super Chow, horse number 6 in the program. One quick note, and this is one of those minor things, but it really bugs me. If you're looking at the Brisnet form, you will see a race 2 back that is labeled as a $1,000 maiden race. That was not a maiden race. That was a stakes race on the Preakness undercard. I have no idea why it's listed as that. Your guess is as good as mine. But don't go thinking that that was a race that horse shouldn't have been running in. That was a stakes race on the Preakness undercard. To me, this is a horse that's always seemed vulnerable. I thought got 2 dream trips earlier in the year over wet tracks at Aqueduct, and the same scenario materialized at Pimlico, where this horse somehow got loose in fractions of 23-1, 46-2. When this horse gets challenged up front, it's a completely different story. And I respect what this horse has accomplished, but if this horse beats me, he'll beat me. And that's wouldn't be the first time that's happened, and probably not going to be the last. But I'm looking at this race, and I see a number of horses that absolutely love Parx, as well as a horse, Josh, that you used as well. My top selection is horse number 10, 90% Maddie. Really honest racehorse here. Last time out, I think bounced off of a series of races at Saratoga against better horses. If you look at this horse's running lines this year, you don't see any wins, but you see a lot of seconds against some pretty good horses. You see a second in the Grade 3 Run Happy, a second in the True North, a second in the John Nehrude. The winner of the Nehrude was Milliken, who came right back to win the Forgo. Then last time out, just sort of ran in place over a surface that he's run well over before. I think he bounced. And if you look at those early fractions, you see 23-3, you see 46-4, going 7 furlongs. They were walking up front. He's going to get a much faster pace to chase in this spot. I think that makes him pretty live. He's my tepid top selection, but I'm going 5 deep, as you mentioned. I'm also going to use 2 very familiar faces at Parx. Number 2, Gordian Knot, and number 3, Twisted Ride, as well as the 2 horses around 90% Maddie, number 9, My Buddy B, and number 11, Top Gunner, who goes first off the claim for one Brad Cox, and is a horse that you liked enough to make a B in this spot.
Yeah, I looked at this race, and I had a hard time seeing who else might challenge Super Chow for the lead here.
Be honest, you saw the E8, and that was
I did.
That was it. That was it. You were done.
It was probably enough, but I just think that Super Chow is going to be faster earlier, and does seem to kind of have a I'll say has been a little inconsistent. Did find a nice run of form earlier this year. Rattling off 3 wins in 4 starts with a second and third there. Last time out at Delaware Park, I see stumbled at the break, but still was good enough to get the lead and hold the lead there. So I don't know if there was enough trouble there that just didn't used up too much energy and just wasn't able to kind of overcome it. But I'm going to go ahead and I'll take another shot here. I see Irad gets aboard, which is a good sign for me. And yeah, I think the only way that Super Chow loses is if more trouble does kind of come his way there. I will admit I've not been this horse's biggest fan either. It really just it's more of a testament to the quality of the field for me than it is how much I think how good I think this horse is. Because I mean, my second choice I'm using is a horse that's literally been claimed first time out and is coming, moving up to a stakes race. So I think Top Gunner is kind of got that run style that I like to see, going 6.5, 7 furlongs, which is, hey, sit just off, be within a length and a half of the leaders, and kind of try and pounce there. And if you kind of look back, that's exactly what this horse has done. Is at least the last 5 starts been within that length or length and a half of the leaders, going 6 and 6.5. And you get Flavian Pratt aboard. You got this versatile run style here. And I think is just going to be sitting that nice garden trip behind what could be tiring horses. But if Super Chow is good enough, I think, he's not going to stop. So I'm just using those two. I'm using the 6 and I'm using the 11. Yeah, I don't know. Andrew, did you want to talk about any of your other horses?
Just the fact that we've got 6 horses and only one in common. Yes, you are indeed listening to the correct show if you are trying to listen to Drank Champagne here on the Wrong Lead Network. I thought this was the most wide open race. And again, where I come from with this ticket is just from a value proposition. I'm trying to extract a couple extra bucks out of Torpedo Anna. And from my standpoint, if the $10 ticket that you're seeing on your screen right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, winds up paying $50, I'll live with that. Because in that case, I've turned Torpedo Anna from 1 to 5 into a 4 to 1 proposition, which is not sexy, but the math absolutely checks out. That ticket starting in race number 11 goes as follows: 3-5 with 6, with 8-11, with 2-3, 9, 10, 11. That's 20 bets. It'll cost you $10.
Yep. And then my ticket is 6-7 with 6, with 1-4-5-11, with 6-11, and that's $8. And then obviously, I have a C in here, I have a B. So I'll probably be playing this kind of tiered and structured with that. And if my strongest opinions come in, I'll have it multiple times. And maybe, if, like you said, if it pays $50, but I have it 5 times, we'll have a decent day. So did you look at any of the rest of the card, Andrew?
Yeah, there was one horse I kind of liked in the race where they'll go around a couple of times. I think that horse is called Next or something like that. Race number 8. Might want to throw a couple bucks on that one.
What else you got going on this week, Andrew?
Oh, it's a busy week for me. There's a lot going on at the day job, winnersandwhiners.com, for all of your pro football, college football, whole bunch of sports stuff that we're doing there. I'll have some more videos up on the Winners and Whiners YouTube channel as well. Had a pretty good week picking college football last week. Went 2-0, much to the chagrin of a couple of people on Twitter. Again, people, get lives. Seriously, go outside, touch some grass. It's quite nice. See, there you go. Isn't it nice out there, Josh? Nice, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. But got some fun plans coming up on Saturday with a couple of Alicia's friends. We're seeing one of their kids play a football game on Saturday afternoon, so that'll be a blast. I've been told there is barbecue after, which is all the incentive I need to go and thoroughly enjoy myself. Very much looking forward to that one.
Cool. And are you still doing your Survivor show too?
I am, yes. That'll be online on Thursday this week. It's a little bit bittersweet for me because, like many people, I was out after week number 2 in the Winners and Whiners Survivor contest. I picked the Baltimore Ravens, who were up 10 points over the Raiders with 12 minutes to go at home and lost the game. I still have no idea how that happened, Josh. And I watched the game. I have no clue.
Do you want to hear? So I'm still alive in my Survivor pool, and I've used 2 really I've used 2 probably strong teams, and I mean I used the Bills week 1, who squeaked one out. And then I used the Chiefs week 2, who squeaked one out. So, yeah, I definitely thought I was going to have much more comfortable wins in those two. So this week I think I'm going with the Buccaneers this week over the Broncos at home. So
can't say I fault that one too much. Bo Nix definitely very streaky. No, my safe pick this week is the Bengals over the Commanders. Think that's a good get right spot for them.
I don't know. I can't touch the Bengals right now, but
I don't know. I can't see them going 0-3. I can't do it.
Yeah, I will say, we talked briefly about sports betting last week, but I went 3-4 this week. So that set some things right. And then I proceeded to get Monday night's game very wrong, which basically put me.
Yeah.
Andrew, let's just put it this way. After they kicked that field goal at the end to go up by 6, I was feeling great because I had a lot of -5.5, and I had a couple of same game parlays with -5.5 with everything else in it. I was feeling pretty good. And then, if you watched it, you saw what happened, and then such
Mr.
is the NFL.
Mr. Cousins went into a phone booth, spun around a couple of times, turned into Superman. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a tough day on Monday, but hey, we're back at it. It's gonna do it for us here on Drank and Champagne. Obviously, you can check us at onthewronglead.com, at @wrong_lead on Twitter. Andrew is at AndrewChampagne, AndrewChampagne.com, winnersandwhiners.com. He already told you all the other places you can find him. I am at Cherry Drank. No stream Thursday. I'm going to be at a work event Thursday night. But we should be getting, you've got to be shotting me out hopefully sometime on Friday. So keep a lookout for that. And if not, hey, you could always just watch Andrew's mug on the Hong Kong feed. So let's make some money this weekend, boys.